Hi, my name is Vince Matlock, and I'd like to welcome you to Matlock Recovery. I'd like to recommend you on doing something about your problem, wanting to change in your life. The life you've been living hasn't been what you've wanted. Hopefully, I know we can do something about that. The Matlock Recovery Program works on many areas of those life situations and stressors that have driven us for so long into the arms of addiction. So here we go. This is called the foundation. I need you to understand right away that drugs and alcohol are just a symptom of the problem. The actual problem with it is your inability to accept life on life's terms. So once we accept that drugs and alcohol are not the problem, we are able to do some other things about that. And immediately what that is, right away we need to get down here and get into some behavior change. Behavior change comes in 3 stages, I believe. The first stage that you're going to be able to do about something today, you're going to be able to deal with the people, places, and things in your life that have brought you pain and misery. So how we go about that is, the people in our life, we need to acknowledge that certain special person that we've always included in our pain and misery. Our running mate, our partner. And if you're a person who isolates alone when you use, you're at the top of your list. You need not hang around you. You must not hang around you. And how you go about that is, you either go into a 12-step program, or you do something else in like smart recovery. Maybe your church, whatever works for you. I'm not here to judge what you do. I'm not here to say there's only one way to deal with this problem of addiction. I'm just trying to give you an avenue to something else if you've repeatedly tried things and they haven't worked for you. Because ultimately what we're playing with, everyone, is our life. So the people, places, and things, let's start out by acknowledging who we can't hang around with. I need you to say that out loud. I need to acknowledge that to the universe. Talk about who you can't be with. And then I need you to take that next scary step and tell those people around you, your loved ones, who you can't hang around with if they already don't know. There again, I don't give myself wiggle room. The Matlock program is built about no wiggle room. There are no excuses anymore for your drinking and using. Because as we see down here, drinking and using doesn't solve anything. It never has and it never will. So we deal with the people in our life. We've done that. We've acknowledged it. Now we can move on to that next step. The places, you already know where you shouldn't be going. I don't have to remind you. I don't have to tell you. You know deep down inside what this disease is about. You know what to do. What I'm going to do is just remove some of the fog, some of the trees from the forest, and allow you to see the minefield that's out there. Then ultimately you get to make the decision what you want in your life. The things I talk about here are those things. We talk about any extra bottles around the house, any hidden prescriptions, anything else that we use, any drug paraphernalia, anything and everything that would allow us to go back immediately to our using. And guess what? I'm asking you to give up those secret hiding places that they haven't found yet. Anything less is a reservation. And a reservation is going to feed the disease of addiction, which we'll talk about later. And immediately, at some point in time, I guarantee you, you will be using again. Reservations do kill us eventually. After you've done this first behavior change, you're going to go into the next one. And that one's going to be about the recovery and change process. The most ardent recovery and change process around is 12-step. If 12-step works for you, that's fine. If it doesn't, let's try something else. But this is the recovery and change process. I need a structured program that allows me to change that thought process. So eventually I fill up that hole with spiritual connections, self-worth, love, care, and concern for myself, as opposed to filling it up with people, places, and things that we've done for so long and now is so detrimental to us, where our life is in jeopardy. And finally, we're coming to that third part, a spiritual connection. And what I mean by that is not a religious connection, though that is fine. A spiritual connection, something that is greater than me, that allows me to accept and to give away my control issues, your control issues. Because ultimately that is what we're looking for. We're looking to control things. And that's what we have to give up, to something greater than ourselves. And I'll show you later on how we get down here that it's two-part. Not only the acknowledgement of a higher power, but the relationship. The relationship that gives me unconditional love, forgiveness, and acceptance, which allows me to go about and live my daily life despite these events in my pockets of darkness that we will get to right now. Questions on behaviors? Very evident, very laid out for you. I need you to come over here and get to the emotional and the physical pain. And as I just talked about, the first one we'll talk about is pockets of darkness. Pockets of darkness are those things in our life from childhood to this very moment, and anything else that we're going to add along the way that has brought me guilt, shame, blame, disgust, self-loathing, all of those things people have done in my life to harm me, and all of those things I've done in my life to harm other people. These are in here forever. They're not going away. You may have thought that by working the 4th and 5th step if you've done 12-step before, or that you've worked with a therapist. These are not going away, but I do not have to live with the intensity that is overwhelming with me when I connect to this spiritual connection, which equates into a higher power. This allows me to accept that unconditional love, forgiveness, and acceptance, and take the intensity of that event in my life, which would be overwhelming typically for us, because we're always living in fear, and allows me to get it down to somewhere that's a 1, something that does exist. I was molested as a child. That pain does not have to live with me the rest of my life, but the event did happen. It doesn't have to be a 10. It can be something that I can live with and in spite of when I'm connected to my spiritual connection, which is a higher power. When I disconnect that, the intensity of this emotional pain will start to rise again. And invariably, we know what happens with that. Our thought process changes. Our behaviors change. And then eventually we wind up using. 2 things that make us different from those that can drink or use successfully. Because for us, it's right here. We don't use no matter what. 1 and foremost is that our biology is different than those people. We do not ever get the luxury of putting a substance in our body. For us, it's punishment. Anything outside of I don't drink or use no matter what will eventually lead us back to, yes, you're right, disease of addiction, which is also dead on arrival.